work related, acting life related. So unfortunately, I couldn't go live. I know it's the first time in our 16, 17 week history. Oh no, there's the commercial is still playing, even though I've done this before. Just checking whether everything's all right with the stream. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you're watching this live, awesome. At the moment, 0 viewer count. But here we go. Let's have a look. All right, so we are good. Feel free to pop into the chat and yeah, let's chat movies and stuff. It's going to be amazing today because I am talking, in case you haven't seen the headline for today's stream, it is episode 17, and I'm going to be talking about the new Antman film, Antman and the Wasp, or aka Antman 2, the Antman sequel, whatever you want to call it, and Hotel Artemis. Now, I was supposed to talk about this last week, but, you know, idiot I am, I forgot to attend the unlimited screening that Cineworld was putting out for Hotel Artemis, and I was so gutted. And I finally got around to watching it today, so it's kind of like everything's just coming together perfectly because I couldn't do a live show yesterday. Hotel Artemis is just screening as of today, as of this morning, I think at like 11 a.m. or something. So it's really worked out really well, I think. So I'm going to be talking about those two movies today, so stay tuned for more for my thoughts on that. And let's just dive straight into news. It's news and trailers, but I didn't have a chance to watch any new trailers, so it's just going to be news. A few weeks ago, I was talking about Zombieland 2, the official Zombieland sequel, and how that is in the works. That potentially the 4 stars of the original might be coming back, and that was obviously Emma Stone, Woody Harrelson, Jesse Eisenberg, and Abigail Breslin. Now it has just been confirmed that they're all set to return, which is obviously fantastic, considering that kind of like, except with the exception of Harrelson, it sort of like helped with the trajectory of everyone's career. Like Emma Stone obviously is an Oscar winner now, and Jesse Eisenberg is highly prolific. So it's kind of hard to get all of these people together. They apparently are making it happen for the Zombieland sequel. And the director Ruben Fleischer is back as well. And just a quick tagline, I think I've mentioned it previously. In the sequel, our heroes will move from the White House to the American heartland as they face off against new kinds of zombies that have evolved since the first movie, as well as some new human survivors. And this is all according to a source that I read a lot. It's the Hollywood Reporter, so thank you very much for that. And production of Zombieland 2 is set to begin in January 2019, so it's just around the corner. And the scheduled release date, we've just been given a release date. It was supposed to be sometime September, October next year. It is now October 11th, which is really close to the 10th anniversary of the original film. So that's going to be really exciting. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Zombieland, but I did enjoy it a lot. I thought it was fantastic. I had a lot of fun with that. Everyone who's ever seen the film knows the funny bit with Bill Murray near the end. Bill Murray basically playing himself. And he is unsure whether he's going to come back. I don't think it would make sense for him to come back necessarily, but he's a good segue for me into the next set of news. Murray in Zombieland, you know, now he is in a new movie with Jim Jarmusch. Now, Jim Jarmusch is a highly prolific director, makes kind of a, I don't want to say niche movies, but they're definitely more like on the artsy-fartsy trail. I'm usually not necessarily a fan of his work, but I loved Only Lovers Left Alive, which I think came out in 2014 or something. It feels like it only came out last year, but obviously it's been a while. And Jim Jarmusch, and this is the big headline, is making a zombie movie with Bill Murray, Adam Driver, and Tilda Swinton. Now, Tilda Swinton obviously is one of my all-time favorite actresses. She's such a chameleon. I love it. And I love it when I go to any kind of networking events or acting classes, workshops or whatever, and people go like, you remind us of Tilda Swinton. Apparently face-wise, I'm not entirely sure what it is because she has such an awesomely amazing look. So I always take it as such a compliment when people go like, you remind me of Tilda Swinton, and she's such a phenomenal actress. I wish I was just half as brilliant as she is. But back to Jarmusch and his zombie movie. After his vampire movie that I just mentioned, Only Lovers Left Alive, that starred Tilda Swinton in the lead role, Jarmusch is now delving into zombie territory, which is really weird. But Focus Features, they're apparently doing they're distributing that film, and they've announced in a press release that Jarmusch has started shooting his new zombie comedy called The Dead Don't Die. And the main cast members, they've all starred in Jarmusch films before, basically. Obviously Bill Murray, who's been in Broken Flowers, and Adam Driver and Patterson. And I'm not a big fan of Patterson, but I can appreciate that the acting in that was absolutely phenomenal. Chloe Sevigny, also from Broken Flowers, Tilda Swinton from Only Lovers Left Alive and Broken Flowers, and Steve Buscemi from Mystery Train, which is the one I haven't seen. And this one, the new one, the zombie one, will also star Selena Gomez. And this will be Murray's actually third collaboration with Jarmusch. You know, they've done Coffee and Cigarettes and Broken Flowers together. And it's also going to be his second zombie movie, considering he was in Zombieland, which is really funny because I would never have thought that I'm going to say, it's like, yeah, Bill Murray is going to be like in a zombie movie or in 2 zombie movies. And yet, here we go. The film does not have a release date as of yet. They're currently shooting in New York, so it's really, really cool that this is happening. I mean, like I said, I wasn't really a big Jim Jarmusch film. It was always a bit too artsy-fartsy for me. It's like I didn't really have much of a connection with it. Even though I love Broken Flowers, and more so to do with Bill Murray. And I loved Only Lovers Left Alive. That's just one of the best vampire films I've ever seen. It was really, really good. So if you haven't seen that, do try it. Like, it's a great vampire film. So forget whether, you know, Jarmusch is directing or whatever. It's just a great vampire film. Then it's really stylistic and artsy if you're into that. It's a proper Jim Jarmusch film. And you have Tilda Swinton and Loki, what's his name? I'm blanking on Hiddleston. It's got Hiddleston in it as well. So Tilda Swinton and Hiddleston are the leads in this film, and it's just absolutely fantastic. I still remember when I was watching that, I was really not in the mood for it, but nothing else was on in the cinema at the time that I wanted to see, that I hadn't already seen, and I wanted to see something new. So I walked into this weird looking film that I didn't really know anything about, and it mesmerized me from the very first minute until the very end. That is also to do with the performances, so do check out Only Lovers Left Alive if you get a chance. Now, last week I was talking about Nathan Fillion and his Instagram account, where he was kind of, you know, suggesting that there might be some Uncharted news coming up, and everyone was like, huh, Drake, Uncharted, what, Fillion, huh? Obviously there's a movie in the works with Sony. It's been in the works for years. They're trying to make an Uncharted movie happen. And obviously, I'm a huge fan of the Uncharted series. It's the sole reason that I'm the owner of a PlayStation, because it's a PlayStation exclusive. I love the Uncharted series. I have all the games here. I really, really love those stories. The characters is absolutely fantastic. So yes, I do want to see a movie. And then, like I said last week, Nathan Fillion had a very mysterious, ominous post on his Instagram account about potential Uncharted project. Now it's been released. We know what it is. It is an Uncharted fan film that is starring Nathan Fillion. So that's really something fantastic that they managed to pull off. You can check it out on YouTube. Just search for Uncharted fan film, or just Uncharted film. It's going to come up. I think it's like a 15-minute thing. And someone, seriously, Sony, make this into a feature. It looks fantastic. It's engaging. It's amazing. Fillion is a great Nathan Drake, even though, of course, Nathan Fillion, I think, is like 47 or 48 or something. He's a bit older than you would probably want your Nathan Drake to be, because I assume if it's successful, Sony would want it to be a franchise like Indiana Jones or something like that. So ideally, you probably want someone who's like 35. But obviously, Nathan Fillion, if you don't know who that is, you need to Google him. He's one of the most charismatic and charming people that you can think of. He's really good. He looks like Nathan Drake. He pulls it off really well. I absolutely loved watching that. And that little fan film is like the screen test of all screen tests. This is like the self-tape of all self-tapes that you can send to whoever is going to be producing and or directing the Uncharted movie that Sony is trying to pull off. Seriously, you guys just need to get these guys in. And the supporting cast is fantastic as well. Check it out. Uncharted fan film on YouTube. It's free to watch, okay? And Sony, just come on. Let's make it happen, all right? And speaking from one fan project to the next, or things that I'm a fan of, like I'm a fan of the Uncharted series, I'm also a huge fan of the Dune series of books. And then in 1984, David Lynch made a film, the very first film about Dune before I think it was like a TV miniseries, 2 or 3 TV miniseries they did quite a while ago. They were also quite good. I love the books. They're really, it's science fiction. It's very out there. It's really bizarre and a bit fucked up as well. Well, it is very fucked up. Let's just call it what it is. But I'm just a huge fan of it. If you don't know what Dune is, if you like sci-fi, just do yourself a favor and get the books. I think there's like 6 books. Well, there were 6 books when, like, years and years and years ago. It started out to just be 3 books. And then there were 6 books by Frank Herbert, who unfortunately died. And then I think there were other books that came out as well. I used to have them all at home, and it was like huge. But it's basically about some galactic empire, and there's a planet that has a mineral of sorts that called spice that allows navigators, people who are piloting spaceships, to kind of like somehow like bend space and time to make really fast travel with spaceships happen. It's like they blink out of existence here and they blink into existence somewhere else, allowing them space travel. So obviously spice is really important, and this is the only, Arrakis is the only planet where that is being found, where that's being produced. And it's like there's like a whole interwoven thing about economy and then ecology and all of that stuff. And there's a guy called Paul Atreides who is sort of turning into some kind of messiah called Muad'Dib for the indigenous people of the planet Arrakis, who, as you'd have it, are obviously being exploited for the spice and just for everything. You know, it's this whole thing about industrialization and exploitation, and it's really, really well done. It doesn't have to be like on a mega cerebral level or different levels about like I was just saying, with ecology and economy and subjugation and slavery and all of that stuff. But all these things are in there, so it's highly intellectual as well, but it's also just a fun read. Great characters in there, especially like in later books as well. There's a great progression there. So I'm a huge fan of this entire series. And ever since Lynch did his 1984 film, now Denis Villeneuve, who's done Arrival and the new Blade Runner, of which I'm unfortunately not a fan, but he is currently trying to get a new Dune film made. And now the big headline is that Timothée Chalamet from, what was it called? Call Me By Your Name. And a lot of other things, like it's kind of like his thing at the moment. It's like Timothée Chalamet in this and in that and in that. Like he's all over the place. He is in talks. Oh no, he's actually, Deadline reports that, no, he is in talks to join Denis Villeneuve's Dune. And that is obviously an adaptation of the epic Frank Herbert sci-fi novel. And he's supposed to play the lead role, Paul Atreides. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh my god, yeah, he looks like a young Kyle MacLachlan who played the role in David Lynch's 1984 version. Little tidbit there, the 1984 version also features Patrick Stewart. That was the first time I've ever seen Patrick Stewart, and before he even went on to do TNG, and so that was kind of awesome. I'm a huge fan of the novel, or novels, and I'm a huge fan of the David Lynch film, even though a lot of people say it's like it's so fucked up. And yeah, it is fucked up, but then the novel is also quite fucked up. You know, he grasped it really well. I thought it was fantastic, and I guess it's one of those things that's like you either love or hate David Lynch, and I kind of love him because he's weird. I can relate to weird. So there's going to be a new movie coming out. He looks like he's going to be a great... Obviously, Timothée Chalamet, he's a great actor. He has the looks as well. And I think they could pull it off and make it fantastic. And I will definitely watch it. Like, I don't give a shit what I thought about Denis Villeneuve's version of Blade Runner. I'm not a fan of that. I was really disappointed with that. But I'm really excited for him doing a Dune movie. So there is that. Last week I also mentioned that there's a new Joker movie coming out. Nothing to do with Jared Leto at the moment, but it's a film supposed to star Joaquin Phoenix. And that now has a release date. Now, the new Joker movie from the Hangover director Ted Phillips, and I'm not a fan of the Hangover, so... And it stars Joaquin Phoenix as Batman's favorite nemesis, and, you know, my absolute favorite villain ever. I love the Joker. It has a release date. Film apparently it's supposed to just be called Joker. You know, just it reminds me of Logan. Joker. Awesome, you know. It will open on October 4th, 2019. Now, obviously, that is just roughly a year away. It's not too far away. They haven't even started shooting yet. They're scheduled to shoot in September in New York. A year, not a lot of time, considering that there will probably be a lot of post-production happening. There will be, I assume, a lot of action, a lot of stunts, a lot of CGI. Even though they said they wanted it to be a bit more of an indie feel and a bit artsy. So we'll see how that goes. And as if I wasn't already interested in that, because it's a movie about the Joker and I love the Joker, and Joaquin Phoenix obviously is a really great actor. They've just added someone else to the cast, and that got me really excited. Well, she's not officially been added yet, but she is in talks to join the Joker. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Zazie Beetz from Deadpool 2 and Atlanta, I think, says that she might officially sign on. And if she signed on, she would play a single mother who catches the interest of the man who will become the Joker. So it sounds like she might be, you know, a love interest or something. So it could be very, very interesting. I love Zazie Beetz. I've never seen Atlanta, but I've seen Deadpool, and she blew me away. I absolutely love this woman. Her being added to the Joker cast just makes me even more excited for the project. So I can't wait to see that. Remember, it comes out October next year, unless stuff changes. And they start filming in New York. And that is the news for today. I'm trying to keep it down, so it's like 17 minutes in. Here we go. I want to talk to you guys about Antman. And, oh yeah, let's swap that. Antman, that one. All right. Let's see. I forgot to check out what the official synopsis is for the film, so bear with me a second. That blah blah. Forced out of his own company by former protege. What is that right? No, that's the wrong. No, I mean Antman and the Wasp. Bear with me a second. I totally forgot to look this up. Obviously, Antman and the Wasp is the sequel to Antman, and it stars Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, Michael Douglas, Michael Pena is back as well. So it's surprising casting that I wasn't aware of, even though, no, I don't think I've actually really watched the trailer, which is why I didn't know about it. Because it's like one of those things is like, I know I'm going to be watching this anyway, so I don't want to be spoiled with anything. We also have Hannah John Kamen. Oh, I should have put a photo of her up in case you don't know who she is. She plays the character Ghost. And Lawrence Fishburne is in as well. And now, as to the synopsis, Scott Lang, who's Ant-Man, is grappling with the consequences of his choices as both a superhero and a father. Approached by Hope Van Dyne and Dr. Hank Pym, Lang must once again don the Ant-Man suit and fight alongside the Wasp. The urgent mission soon leads to secret revelations from the past as the dynamic duo finds itself in an epic battle against a powerful new enemy. Now, that's very ominous and everything, and I did mention, like, if you follow me on Twitter, I will not spoil anything about this movie, okay? Because you should not be spoiled. Now, the movie actually doesn't come out until officially it's the 3rd of August that we get it here in the UK. Cineworld is showing a double feature on the 1st of August. So, the 1st of August, that's like 9:30 in the evening, so that by the time you hit midnight, you get to watch the new one. So it's officially the 2nd of August. That's when it comes out, which is pretty much almost an entire month after the US has gotten it, which is rubbish. But I was really excited for this one, and my mate Mark from the Fan Carpet, he got me tickets to one of the press screenings, which is why I got to see it a few weeks early, which was fantastic. When I heard about that, I was like, I've been so elated with that. And then I found out that we even got to see it in IMAX, which was even better because I usually don't have the money to fork out for tickets for IMAX, which is really annoying. Because that's just not included in the Cineworld monthly thing, which is fair enough. But when I get to see something, especially an effects thing like Antman, superhero movies, science fiction movies, whatever it is, when I get to see that in IMAX, that's fantastic. I mean, I remember when I watched Ghost in the Shell in IMAX. Now, Ghost in the Shell is unfortunately not a very good movie, but the visuals really got to me. In IMAX 3D, it was like I was in, and I was sitting really up front because unfortunately we got there a bit late. But I felt like almost a VR experience. That's how close it was. It was absolutely fantastic. I really liked it. So watching Ant-Man, I haven't seen Ant-Man in 3D yet. We watched it in IMAX, but in 2D. So I will do the double feature, and I think that is in 3D as far as I remember. So I will report back on how the 3D is. But the IMAX screening was fantastic. It looks amazing. The special effects are great. Without spoiling anything, there is, like I said, I will not spoil anything. There are several characters, just like in the first one. Do you remember the start of it? If you've never seen it, I think it is still on Netflix, so do check it out if you've not seen it. If you're not going to see a double bill in the cinema, do yourself a favor and check out the first one before you go and see the second one. Just trust me. But the first one started with Michael Douglas having been revitalized, looking younger. And I remember when we were like, what the heck? Because it looked really good. And they've managed to make that technology even better because that, I think that comes up again. So, there are at least two or three characters in this film that are made younger. And it looks weird at first because you're like, I know this is impossible. This is clearly CGI. But you just, like, for me, it really worked. I mean, I'm not usually someone who's very critical of CGI and stuff. But this one really worked for me. And it looks like they are close to perfecting that kind of technology. I was really, really surprised. As I mentioned, Lawrence Fishburne is in this. He also gets the facial rejuvenation. And I think Michael Douglas gets as well. If you've seen the trailer, you know that Michelle Pfeiffer's in this film as well. She also gets the rejuvenation. And it just looks a bit bizarre, but it works. It really, really works. And I was very surprised by that. So overall, I love the cast in this film. Just like in the first one, Paul Rudd's coming back. Evangeline Lilly, Michael Douglas, and Michael Pena. If you don't know who Michael Pena is, he's been in shitloads of films pretty much. He always plays a side character. He was, I think the last time I've seen him was in Wrinkle of Time by Ava DuVernay, and he played the guy at the beach. He always plays really memorable characters. He's a very memorable actor. He's not really got into the leading man status just yet, but he plays really fantastic supporting characters, and I really love it. If you've seen the first one, you know who Michael Pena is. He is Paul Rudd's best mate, sort of, like they're both criminals, and he was the comic relief in the film, and he kind of does that again here, but a bit less so. It's like he's grown up a bit, but he always brings the laughs. Whatever his dialogue is, it's like he just rolls with it. He goes with it. He just sugarcoats it and goes like, bam, there you go. And it's just such a laugh fest. And the action in this is also really fantastic. Everyone gets to kick ass. And one of the things that people had problem with in the first one, myself included, you obviously have, I had to, you have, I hope you can see it. It's like you have Evangeline Lilly and Paul Rudd, and the entire film is like you see that Paul Rudd's not really up to snuff. He's not that great of a superhero, and the entire time it's like, why is not Evangeline Lilly in the Ant-Man suit? Why is she not the hero? What? Because she's a girl. So the entire time it's like she's way more capable. She's the one who's training Scott. Why? You know, it's like everyone was like, why? It makes no sense. It's just what? Because the source material says so, because the script says so, right? It was just absolutely ridiculous. So this time around, it's almost like, yeah, we listened to what you said, even though I assume in the source material, the Wasp obviously also comes around. But she gets her own costume. If you've seen the end of Ant-Man 1, that is obviously revealed there, that that costume exists. And we see her being her capable, badass, ass-kicking self. And that is absolutely fantastic. It is so much fun. She she does what she does in the first one. She literally takes care of Scott, because Scott just gets from one problem into the next, while he also obviously he is hero material. He does great things, and he almost like sacrifices himself for a lot of stuff. I'm not saying he's dying, like I said, no spoilers. But she really gets to show off what she can do and how capable she is. And one of the things I really liked about the film is that because of what happened in Civil War, and in case you don't know that, Scott showed up in Civil War when it was Captain America versus Iron Man and they clashed, right? And there was this big brawl in the airport, and then all of a sudden Spider-Man shows up, and then Ant-Man shows up, and I was like, what's going on? And because of that, Scott is under house arrest, so he's wearing like a little tag on his foot. He can't leave his house, which is actually, from a narrative point of view, really great, because he has obviously shared custody of his child, which is something that's also been brought up in the first one. And he's trying to entertain a 10-year-old or something, when you can just be at home, when you can't go outside, is not easy. And how he's adapting to that and what he's doing with it. And it makes sense, and it's played for laughs, but there's also like a very serious tone in there as well. And I really, really enjoyed that. There's this whole cat and mouse thing between him and the authorities, when he kind of has to break out of the house in order to do his hero shit, right? And it's not just played for laughs, and I thought that was really, really well done. I can't remember the guy who played I can't remember, is it FBI agent or is he just a police officer? I think it's like Homeland Security or FBI or something. It's an Asian dude, and he's absolutely fantastic. He also is usually played for laughs, but he does it really, really well, just like Michael Pena. It's like all the characters in this work really well, are really well played, are perfectly cast pretty much. The script's really tight. There's no added fat in there that I would trim. It's just a lot of fun. And one of the things that I was saying is, like, because of Civil War, there is this animosity between the Wasp, Evangeline Lilly's character, and Michael Douglas, with Paul Rudd, because obviously Paul Rudd went to help Captain America in Civil War, and that's why he's in trouble, and that's kind of like also why Hank Pym and Van Dyne are in trouble. So it's just, they're not fans of his. Let's just say it like that, okay? So Hope and Hank are not friends of his, and trying to get the team back together and how that happens is quite interesting. And everyone has like a proper character progression and a proper story progression from the first film into the second one. It's a proper sequel that doesn't forget what happened in the first one, and that makes it really, really interesting, and I really loved it. Speaking of characterization and some character progression, this movie actually does that, and it gives you as a viewer what you want to see. Like I said, it's like you get to see Hope actually kick ass, and then there's a new character that comes in, and I wish I had the mindset to actually put her character poster up. The actress's name is called Hannah John Kamen, and she's also been she's had a small part in Ready Player One. She's had a small part in Tomb Raider. It's like she's coming onto the big screen quite a lot lately. Like, I've seen her this year 3 times already. Was Tomb Raider this year? Yeah, I think it was. And I'm just noticing that she's like in big, huge ass franchises. Like I said, Ready Player One, huge Spielberg film. Tomb Raider, obviously really big thing, hopefully gonna be a franchise. She just had a very small part in that, unfortunately. She played Lara's best friend at the very start of the film, you know, with the boxing match and stuff. But I took notice because she's from a TV series called Killjoys, which I watch, and she's the lead in that, and she's absolutely phenomenal. She's kick-ass in that, and she's really charming, but she's also very, like, you know, assertive and alpha and dominant. And here she plays a character called Ghost, who is, that's not a spoiler because that is in the trailer and that is on the posters, so that is not a spoiler. And that's one of the things that I really liked about the film. How many female characters there are. I mean, how many? It's like two. Two times two? Four. No, two. And they're really good and they're on par with each other. So you see Evangeline Lilly, like Hope. I have a problem saying Evangeline Lilly. I don't know. Hope gets in some kind of a scenario situation. Walton Goggins is in this as well, who was also in Tomb Raider. So it's like, you know, everything's coming full circle. And there's a scene where we basically show how kick-ass and badass Hope is as the Wasp. Like, she takes care of numerous bad guys in all kinds of different ways, and we're seeing how she controls her suit, which is fantastic. She's the Wasp, so she can fly, and she also has the make big and make small powers that Antman has. So she's absolutely amazing. And obviously we've seen how she was teaching Scott in the first one, you know, how to, this is how you throw a punch and stuff like that, which was also a hilarious scene. So we see her, how capable she is, and that is amazing to behold. And then she has a scene with Ghost, who is just as capable as she is. And seeing those two spar is fantastic. And that is also what I love about this film, is like Ghost is supposedly the antagonist, but you can feel for her and why she's doing what she's doing once you realize why she's doing what she's doing and what happened to her, what her backstory is, what her motives are, and how it all connects together. Some of it is a bit predictable. There are a few plot points that are quite predictable, but I still think that they work really, really well. At least they did for me. Just because they're predictable doesn't mean that they're shit, right? I mean, if you watch a lot of movies, like certain things, they're just like, they have to happen. Otherwise, the movie doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. I absolutely loved the performances in this. The action is great. The CGI is great. There's something that I don't want to talk about because it might be a spoiler, even though it's in the trailer. There's a great sequence with how they're trying to disguise the fact that Scott has left the house. That is absolutely hilarious. It's not necessarily needed, but it's just so fucking awesome that every time they were showing that, it's like, it's amazing. So just that storyline of him trying to evade the authorities is really well done. Them actually trying to do what they're trying to do, which is what I don't want to talk about because I don't want to give away any spoilers. It's a more personal plot this time around. Everything is a lot more personal, I thought, than just going up against some bad guy. I love the fact it's like in Infinity War, Thanos is relatable, which is why he's such a great villain, right? Because he's not really a villain, he's the hero of his own story, and that is what makes him such a great character. And I think you have the same thing here. You will understand, but once you find out why the person is doing something, you understand why they're doing it, and you're like, dude, if I was in this situation, I would probably do exactly the same thing. And you have a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of great action, a lot of great special effects, but there's also a lot of fun in this. There's a lot of laugh out loud moments in that you kind of expect, because I thought the first one, when I went to see the first one, I didn't know what to expect. And I thought it was a very fun film. It was a very action film, but it's just the script is really well written. It's really tight. It lives off its characters. It lives off its situations and scenarios, which I think is really rare that something works that well. And the time just flies by. Do sit till after the credits. Trust me on that. I mean, it's a Marvel movie. You guys should already know the procedure. Sit your asses down until the very last scene of the credits. Not just as like, oh yeah, I've just seen a post-credit scene. Trust me. You have to watch the credits to the very, very end. To the very end. Okay? Very, very important. Even though, I mean, the halfway credit scene is way more important than the one at the very end. But do sit till the very end, you know. It's worth it, trust me. It's not as worth it as the mid-credit scene, but it's worth it. One of the other things that they include in this one as well, which I thought was a nice little gag. In the first one, we have Michael Pena kind of retell a story, and while he's retelling it, you see it being retold with the characters mouthing the way that he talks. You know, I'm not sure if I'm describing this correctly, but it's like you had Scott talking the way that Michael Pena talks in character, and then having other people talk in his voice. You know, they're basically throwing his voice over other people's mouthing of the words, and they do it with the same attitude that Michael Pena does. And they do this here again, in a hilarious little bit that it's not as good. I didn't feel was as good as in the first one, but then in the first one it was new, it was innovative, because I can't remember this ever having been done in a movie. And I think it's because audiences responded to that really well. The filmmakers realized that this is something the audience really loved because it was absolutely hilarious. And they're doing it again in this one. And it works. It's great, it's hilarious, and you can tell that the actors acting it out were having a lot of fun. But overall, it was just not as good as in the first one. But I love that they brought that back. That kind of narrative tool that they introduced in the first one, and it worked really, really well. And I do hope that is something that they will hopefully always do when that character, for Michael Pena's character, is in any of the films. And I do hope that there's going to be a third one and that they come back and it's just going to be amazing. So I really, really like that. The best bit for me was seeing Hope finally kicking ass and taking names and, you know, kicking the bad guys. And then you have H.J. Hannah, John Kamen come in and doing the same thing. Seeing two women being awesome, being badass and kick ass and taking names and just being in their own and having their own agenda and not just being the love interest. Because that's the one thing that I do not like about the Ant-Man films, and that was true in the last one and that is true in this one. There's just no sexual chemistry between Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly. I'm sorry, I love those two guys. Paul Rudd's hilarious and he's funny and all of that, and I love Evangeline Lilly because she's amazing. She plays really feisty characters and badass and kick-ass characters, and she gets to kick ass. And I love how much she's touting this whole thing. It's like, I am the first titular Marvel female superhero. She really, you know, it's important to her that these things happen, and I love her for that even more. But there's just no, absolute zero, zilch, nada, nothing, zero sexual chemistry between these two characters. So when there was this kiss in the first one, we were all like, what the fuck is going on? Where's this coming from? What, just the script says so. There is no sexual chemistry. What the fuck? And the same thing happens in this one. There's one kiss. Is there one kiss? Two kisses? Whatever. But when it happens, it's like, can you stop doing that? You guys are more like brother and sister than anything. You have no sexual chemistry. You should not be a couple. It just does not work. It just doesn't work in the movie. And it throws you. Like, it really takes me out of the movie because I'm like, ew. It's like when Luke kisses Leia, you're like, but that's his sister. And in this one, it's like, but that's just not right. It's weird. So I really found it weird. My mate is always like, ooh, that's just like, no, that's not okay. And obviously I love Evangeline Lilly. She's hot, she's sexy, she's smart, she's awesome, she's captivating, engaging, just all of that. She needs a franchise of her own, basically. Kicking ass and taking names. I love that she's a bit of an action star. Same with like, Peter Jackson brought her out of retirement for the Hobbit series. And she was awesome in that, and I love seeing that. And now she's the Wasp, and I do hope that she gets her own little movie. And she's fantastic. There's a lot of really great stuff in this. I had a lot of fun with Ant-Man and the Wasp. I think almost as much fun as I had with the first one, and the first one really surprised me. It's one of my favorite Marvel movies ever because it's just so much fun. There's a great story going on, the great characters, interesting characters. It's quite funny. It's like Deadpool, but not R-rated. You know, it's funny all the time. There's a lot of laugh out loud moments in this. And the sequel is pretty much the same. It's a proper great sequel to a great film. And I want to see more of this character, of all the characters. I also, I want to see more of Antman. I want to see more of the Wasp. I want to see more of everyone who was in this film. I really want to see more. And I had been spoiled by a headline by IGN, thank you guys, about the mid-credits scene. I knew what was going to happen there. But it wasn't much of a spoiler when you... I'm not going to say it. When you've seen previous or other Marvel films. There were certain things that I was going to expect. It wasn't that big of a deal. But when it happened, I was like, oh my god, this is... wow. So I can't wait to see the next Avengers, and I can't wait to see the next Ant-Man, which is probably going to take another 3 years or something. But I do hope that they're going to bring back most of the characters, including the new characters that we've introduced in this film, because they were fantastic. I do hope they come back because they were amazing, and I love the performances. Just, yeah, like I said, it's got great performances, great characters. The narrative is a bit standard, but then, you know, it's a superhero film. You can't go very outlandish with that. Most of it is by the book. But it's just the dialogue's really funny, and the characters, the actors really know their characters. They have a lot of fun with their characters. They really just, they chew up every tiny bit of dialogue and scenery. It's just so much fun to watch. And the action is really great, and it's sometimes ridiculous and ludicrous. I mean, if you've seen the trailer, you know, there's like Hope and Hank have this laboratory somewhere where they're like doing experiments and stuff. And because they have this shrinking and like they make small, they make big technology, they just shrink the entire complex, the entire building. And the building has like a handle, like a little suitcase sticking out of it, so that they can just carry it like a little trolley, like hand luggage for an airplane. And it's absolutely hilarious that way. It's just like they have a little tray of mini cars that they throw into the road and go poof, and we're making it big, and now we're driving it, and now poof, we're making it small and putting it back in the case, and just fun shit like that. And then there's also a reason why Ant-Man has to go, if you've seen the trailer, why Ant-Man has to go big, and obviously what that entails. And there's so much stuff that you need to watch this film at least a second time, because there's so much going on. The daughter also has some really great scenes. I'm just remembering that now. They have really great chemistry, Paul Rudd and the little girl. There's some really good stuff in there. And it's, everyone kind of like gets their moment to shine. And it's just a lot of fun from A to Z. It's a very, very entertaining film. You don't necessarily have to have seen the previous one. I think you can make it work. Like one of my mates who was with us, she hadn't seen the first one. And I was like, what are you doing here? It's a sequel. Like my chronology OCD just came in, and she was like, don't worry, it'll be fine. And it was, you know, because everything is kind of like explained rather well, and you just go, okay, Ant-Man, he can just make things go big and make things go small. It's like, that's just a given. And as soon as you've got that in your head, I think everything else that the film kind of shows you makes sense, you know. As long as it's consistent within its established universe, it should be fine. And she really liked the film, and she was like, yeah, if it's still on Netflix, I'm going to watch the first one because that was a lot of fun. And the coolest thing was, I mentioned earlier that obviously Evangeline Lilly is talking about how important it is that she is the first female titled superhero in the Marvel Universe. And I was tweeting about it as well. The cool thing is that we actually had Peyton Reed, the director, Michael Douglas, Evangeline Lilly, and Paul Rudd. They came in before the screening started. They were here to do some kind of talk show or something for the BBC or whatever. And they came in before the screening and did, like, you know, shared a few words and, you know, did a bit of an introduction before the movie actually started, which was kind of cool. I put a video of that on my Twitter in case you want to see it. So just go to Melanie_Radloff, or just go to ILoveCinema vlog on Twitter, and there's a link to my Twitter account. Just look for media and you can see a video of that from a few days ago. And why I'm mentioning it, that is one of the things that Evangeline Lilly was saying when she was introducing the film, was that how important that was for her, and that she is the first female titled superhero of a Marvel movie. And then, as one of my friends on Twitter was pointing out, it's like, dude, Elektra. And I was like, okay, cool. That was before Marvel Studios came about, and we all kind of want to forget about Elektra. So from the new era of Marvel movies that was started with the first Iron Man movie with Robert Downey Jr., and then onwards, every Marvel film that has been done by Marvel Studios, she's the first titular female superhero, and she does a really, really good job. I mean, I'm excited for Captain Marvel and stuff, but yeah, it's Ant-Man and the Wasp. She's in the title. She's a female superhero. She's awesome. Go watch Ant-Man. Let me know what you think. And now I'm going to tell you about a really cool film that I've seen a few hours ago. Hotel Artemis. It is so amazing. Like, this might be a bit nicer. There you go. Hotel Artemis. I hope this is alright, because the quality of the image is not as good, but then the quality of my video stream is not that great, so there you go. Oh, I also didn't write down a bloody synopsis for that. I'm so prepared today. It's amazing. Hang on a sec. Hotel Artemis. I always look it up, because I'm like, if I just go ranting about it, it's going to be horrendous. Okay, so the synopsis for Hotel Artemis is: as rioting rocks LA in the year 2028, disgruntled thieves make their way to Hotel Artemis, a 13-story members-only hospital for criminals. It's operated by the Nurse, a no-nonsense high-tech healer who already has her hands full with a French assassin, an arms dealer, and an injured cop. As the violence of the night continues, the Nurse must decide whether to break her own rules and confront what she's worked so hard to avoid. Now, there's a tiny bit of a spoiler there, that you will only know once you've seen the film, so it's not that big of a deal. But it's who's it directed by? Hang on. It's directed by Drew Pearce, who also wrote or co-wrote the script. I can't remember. This film I've been very excited for ever since I've seen the trailer a few weeks or a few months ago. I don't think it's been floating around for that long. I think I became aware of it around MCM, so that would have been May. So I think I was aware of this for like 2 months. And ever since I've seen the trailer, I've been hyped for this film like crazy. And that is not just because of how it looks and the visual look, the cinematography of this looks fantastic. Like it looks in the trailer, the film is just so stylish and awesome. I was just like, wow. Just from that point of view, it's already captivating and really got me hooked and interested. But in addition to that, which usually gets me hooked, is who is starring in this. And there's a lot of amazing people in it. Most importantly, we get Jodie Foster in front of the camera again. It's been years since she's been in front of the camera. She's gone more into the directing bit, but she is the star of this movie. Even though I think it's a bit of an ensemble piece, but she's clearly the star of the film. She is playing the nurse, and she's absolutely fantastic. It is crazy how good this woman is. Like, if you forgot how amazing Jodie Foster is as an actor, obviously you can watch The Accused, which is like, what, 20 years old? 30 years old? I can't remember. Or watch The Brave or whatever it is. But just watch Hotel Artemis. It is so fucking good that, like, I was sitting in there and I was like, just please let this film be decent. Please let this film be okay. Like, I really need this film to be good. And it was. I really, really like this film. So we have Jodie Foster plays the nurse, alright? Then we have Sterling K. Brown, who, if you don't know what This Is Us is, you need to do yourself a favor and watch that TV show. That is like one of the most heartwarming but also heartbreaking TV shows that I have seen in I don't know how many decades. It is absolutely fantastic. He's one of the leads in that. He's a great actor. He's really engaging, very captivating, very charming, but he's also really emotional, and he has depth, and he's just he's fantastic. Like, you watch him in that show and you go like, this is one of the ones you need to watch. And obviously he's been doing this for quite a while, but that is kind of like his breakout role in This Is Us. And in case you think that he looks a bit familiar, he was in Black Panther. He played in the start of the film, you know, when the king of Wakanda comes to LA and visits someone, his son. That's him. The arms or drug dealer or whatever he was supposed to be. That was him. That really short, almost like a cameo role. But he always has memorable performances, no matter how small the part is, because there are no small parts, right? They're just parts. And he's fantastic in this, and he's also one of the leads. I mean, it's clearly, well, Jodie Foster is the star in that. She's the headliner. But for me, this is clearly an ensemble piece. So we have Jodie Foster, we have Sterling K. Brown, and then there's the one that also got my head turned, going like, I need to watch this. Sofia Boutella is in this. And if you don't know who Sofia Boutella is, do yourself a favor and Google her. She's been in some breakout films, some breakout performances in the last few years. It is absolutely astounding how fantastic this young woman is. And I say young woman, this lady is. She's absolutely mesmerizing. The first time I saw her was in Kingsman, the very first Kingsman film, right? Because the sequel came out, I think, last year. I haven't even seen that. But the first Kingsman, she was that lady with the spiky feet. Because she's a dancer and she has a physicality about her that is just, it wows me all the time. I have such huge respect for people that can do the physical shit that she can do. It is just astounding to me how she's able to pull that off. So she was in that, and then when she really caught my eye, I thought she did a really good performance in that, but I really didn't pay much attention to, oh, I wonder who that actress is. No, not really. But then she did Star Trek Beyond, and she played Jyla, you know, that white-skinned alien that pretty much stole the entire fucking movie as far as I'm concerned. I was like, the movie is like, yeah, whatever, but that Jyla person, and that is when I actually IMDb'd, who the fuck is this? And then I was like, Sofia Boutella, okay, I have to remember this name. And then I looked at it, I was like, she was in Kingsman. Who the fuck was she in Kingsman? I was like, holy crap, she was the lady with the pointy feet. So I was really in awe of her. I was really, really, yeah, she's just engaging, she's captivating, she's charming, and she's interesting, and she's also fucking kick-ass. There's just something about her. She's a presence on screen. Like, when she's on screen, whoop, all eyes are on her. And that's got nothing to do with her being mega beautiful or something. There's just something about her. There's like an energy about her that just makes you, she draws you in. I'm not, like, some people just have that, right? And then obviously she's been in Atomic Blonde with Charlize Theron. And she was great in that, but it didn't give her much to do. And now she's in Hotel Artemis, and she is fucking fantastic in that. Just like Jodie Foster is, just like Sterling K. Brown is. Absolutely awesome. Those three, I think, well, and Dave Bautista. Those four are the absolute highlights of this film. You also have Jeff Goldblum in this, and Zachary Quinto is in this, and Brian Tyree Henry, and Jenny Slate, and, you know. But for me, it was Jodie Foster, Sterling K. Brown, Sofia Boutella, and Dave Bautista. That got me to watch this film, and they were all phenomenal with what they do. Really, really loved it. So, as I said in the synopsis, it is 2028. There are riots happening in LA, which is where this is taking place. Something, and that's also the other thing. It's like the setting of this film is very realistic. It's like 10 years from now, and it's something to do like the water price riots or something. It's got to do with water. Water's been turned off because for whatever reason the prices have spiked, and obviously poor people can't afford it. And if you can't afford water, I mean, water is a basic need. And I think that's also one of the things, I was talking to one of my mates about that. It's like, we think of water as something that's all around us, that is at the ready whenever we want it, right? And I know that a lot of people always go like, well, we don't pay for water. I just turn the tap on and there it is. It's like, yeah, you pay for water because I fucking get a fucking bill every month where it says this is how much you pay for water. You know, we all pay for water. And when you sometimes think about, let's say in the third world, where people have to walk like 2 miles just to get to a well, it's like, yeah, but at least you don't have to pay for your fucking water. We have to pay for water. And I'm not complaining about this. I'm just saying, it's like people always go like, oh, you have it so great in the industrialized nations. You just turn the tap on and there's free water for everyone. It's like, we're paying for this shit. We don't actually have access to free water anywhere in the industrialized nations because somehow someone somewhere decided that some company has the rights to sell it to other people. And I don't know what they did to have the rights to sell water, which should be free for everyone. But that's a whole nother discussion. So if you want to talk about this, get in touch. Back to the movie. But this is the settings. It's like people are basically prohibited from accessing water. And that's why riots break out. And this is where Hotel Artemis is set, is taking place. And it's kind of like in a 13-story skyscraper. And it's mega high-tech. Like there's some high-tech happening in there that is just fucking crazy. I'm probably going to run a bit over because I'm just going to have to talk about Hotel Artemis because it's fantastic. So if you've seen the trailer, and you can watch the trailer, it's not really spoilery as to what is happening, just who is in it basically. It's a very surprising film because when I saw the trailer I was like, oh yeah, this is just an action flick. You know, criminals go into Hotel Artemis and then shit hits the fan and everyone's trying to kill each other or something. It's like trying to survive or whatever, like Belko experiment, whatever it is. But that's actually not the case. The film has a lot less action than the trailer made me believe. The film takes its time with, I don't really want to call it exposition because it's not. The bit of exposition that is done in the film is done, I think, really well. It's like usually you have a talking head here who goes like, and this is what happened, and blah blah blah, and blah blah blah. Obviously stuff like that also happens, but it's like there's a bit exposition by this character and by this character and by this character, and you find out a lot about characters, especially about the nurse, just through what she does and how she behaves and what she utilizes and stuff. Like she listens a lot to like a really old school looking, almost like Chris Pratt's Walkman in Guardians, but she's got like really cool devices. The first time you see her, she's waking up because someone's gonna come into Hotel Artemis, who's Sterling K. Brown, because shit hit the fan with his job, and she gets up and there's like voice activation across the entire hotel. So she's like, screen on, turn TV on, whatever, and this like OLED screen comes out of the side and it looks like a hotel, not a hotel, like a hospital curtain, and then it doesn't project the image, but the image is just there, so it looks like it's like a proper, like a foldy screen. That stuff already exists. It's just fucking expensive, right? So she has that coming in, but then in the same vein, 2 seconds later, she turns to like an old record player, like really old school record player with like a needle and everything, because she's listening to records. So I love the whole like high tech and old school, you know, new and retro is really, really cool. And the hotel itself looks fantastic. Like that location, I want to know how much of that location was actually there, because like the walls and the corridors and just everything just looks so stylish and fantastic. I love the cinematography as well. There's a lot of like with like rich saturated colors, and light and shadow plays a big part. Like I found the look of the film really, really engaging. That is definitely something that I really enjoyed. And they have this whole thing that the whole script is also really tight. Like it's only a 94-minute long film, I think, even though it feels longer. But that's not a bad thing, because there's just a lot of stuff that happens in there. But everyone gets like a proper characterization, even though the characters remain sort of anonymous. There are 5 rooms in Hotel Artemis, and they're called Nice, Honolulu, Waikiki, Acapulco, and Niagara. And it was nice that Sofia Boutella was in Nice. Nice. Yeah, that was kind of neat. That was kind of nice. And that also fed into the a dialogue option later on in the film where someone goes like, nice. And she's like, it's pronounced Nice. And he's like, I was talking about your ass. And I was like, oh, good God. But it's just, yeah, it's just stuff like that. There's a lot of funny dialogue in this film, but it's not. Some of it is played for laughs, but most of it is more like it's really serious for the characters, but it's entertaining and borderline funny for the audience, which I think works really, really well. The music in this is also fantastic. As I mentioned, that Jodie Foster's nurse, she listens to stuff on headphones, and she listens to some awesome tracks, which I thought also really put you in the mood for it. It's very old school. Everything about this hotel is very old school, which is obviously a huge juxtaposition with everything being high tech. Like they've got some crazy high tech shit in there. It's like if all hospitals had the equipment that Hotel Artemis has, wow, that would be amazing. They're 3D printing a liver. I shit you not. It's not a spoiler. I shit you not. It's like, it's absolutely fantastic, the stuff that happens in there. And if you've seen the trailer, you know that someone is 3D printing something, right? And it sounds fantastic. It looks fantastic. It has an atmosphere. And the film really takes its time to establish the atmosphere, the location, the rules, the characters, even though, like I said, the characters remain anonymous because because that's the whole thing about Hotel Artemis. Anonymity, and no one is allowed to kill anyone else. Like this is it's like in John Wick. It's like once you cross this threshold, no guns, you're not allowed to kill anyone, no names are being exchanged, blah blah blah. So everyone is just being called by their room name that they've been assigned. So we have Nice, which is Sofia Boutella, Honolulu, which is the arms dealer, Waikiki is Sterling K. Brown. No, sorry, Honolulu is Sterling K. Brown's brother in the film. Acapulco is the arms dealer, and Niagara is like a surprise guest near the end. Even though that's not really a surprise if you've seen the trailer, but there you go. And there's some really awesome stuff in this. Just even like when Dave Bautista, for example, when they introduced Dave Bautista, it's just, if you've seen the trailer, you know exactly what's happening. The nurse goes like, "Oh, don't worry, Everest will sort this out." And it's like, "Who's Everest? Oh, you haven't met Everest." And then Dave Bautista shows up, and Jodie Foster is a really small lady, right? And then she's perfectly framed like this. And then Dave Bautista shows up here, and all you can see is like his upper body, the head's cut off, because he's that tall. And it's like, yep, that must be Everest. You know, it makes perfect sense why people are called what they're called. And this whole high-tech system is also like, there's like a map. It looks like an iPad. And everyone has kind of like trackers somehow. Maybe it's the keys or whatever it is. But you can see where everyone is on the map. So the nurse has absolute control over that. And she is the be-all, end-all of this fucking thing. It's like she says how it goes. And it's just absolutely fantastic. And Dave Bautista as well is like, he's just always really serious. You know, he's not like Draxing it up and laughing and everything, but he's also part of the comic relief. If you've seen the trailer, he goes like, "Do you see this badge? That means I'm a healthcare professional." And he says that several times because it's kind of his shtick. And a lot of situational comedy just comes out of that. And I don't want to give too much away. Like I said, I don't want to spoil anything because the film is just too much fun. But one of the things I really liked about it, other than the characters and the stylish look and the music, the action sequences that happen in the film, quite late actually, because I thought this would be more of an action movie, but it's actually not. It's more about the characters and about the story and the settings. But the action that you get shown at the end is absolutely fantastic. Like, I mean, Dave Bautista obviously is awesome. He's an ex-wrestler and stuff. Wicked. But what really blew my mind is all the shit that Sofia Boutella does. And I know that I'm raving on and on about her and how amazing she is and blah blah blah, but to be honest, she just fucking is. Okay, She is amazing. She's a really great actress. She's really captivating. She's charming. She's engaging. She's smart, and she can just like she works a room. You know, she just works everything. She's fucking fantastic. And then at the end, you actually get to see her kick ass. And there's some really gruesome shit happening in this film as well. There's someone who gets their throat cut. There's someone who gets slashed open. All kinds of things. But what this film does and why it remains a 15 rating is you don't necessarily see much of that. It's not a Saw movie. It doesn't really go into the detail and show you all the goriness. It's more insinuated. While you do still kind of see it, but it's not playing it for the gore. It's like some of the stuff that when someone gets gutted from head to toe, you see it from far away, and the way that they play with light and shadow makes it obscured, but you can obviously see what's happening, but without too much of the gruesome detail. And they make this happen several times in the film, and that doesn't make the impact of what is going on any less. Because me and my maid, the two Mels, went to the cinema today. We just went there and we were like, oh my god! And there's something absolute hilarious. Printer jam in this film as well. I'm only going to say watch out for the printer jam. When that happens, you see it coming. It's not a spoiler, but that's all I'm going to say about it. It's absolutely fantastic the way that is played. We were both wincing in our seats, and then it happened and we were like, oh my good god. It's phenomenal. It's a really great film, even though I think you probably shouldn't set your expectations mega high, because like I said, the exposition and the setup of the narrative and the plot and all the characters takes a long time. Like the director really took his time. What was it? I want to say Peyton Reed, but that's Antman. It was Drew Pearce. Really takes his time with the characters and really gives them time to establish the relationships and what's going on, which is why stuff that happens later on actually has a proper impact. And I really loved this film. I thought it was fantastic. It's a lot of fun. But like, it's a lot of fun. It's got great characters. It's got great acting in it. Jodie Foster really gets to show what she's capable of. There's a lot in the details in this film, and I really love that. So on the one hand, it's like, on a superficial level, you can say it's like a really stylized film. It's really cool looking, and it sounds awesome. You know, it's just got this whole like cool artsy fartsy stuff, and stylized. But you also have layers upon layers upon layers that are happening there, and characters having to go out of their comfort zone, and characters making stuff happen that is what they do. And then they go, shit, I just caused this. I didn't mean to cause this. And how they go about doing that. And then you think someone is a certain way, and then they do something in the third act where you're like, I didn't think that would happen, or that person would do that. And I really like that. There's obviously not a lot of character progression, especially not for a lot of characters, but there is enough character progression to keep me engaged. And they chose really charming and charismatic and enigmatic and powerful characters to play these characters. Like, every single person in this film, I think, is spot on and fantastic. And I want to see a sequel to this, even though that doesn't necessarily make sense. But I really enjoyed the entire setting, and also just with the water crisis and stuff, it feels very realistic, and it's like 10 years in the future. And I love the cinematography of this. I love the sound of this. I love the performances. Jodie Foster and Sofia Boutella are fantastic. Sterling K. Brown, awesome as always. Dave Bautista, he's just someone I really like seeing. And he's just the best when he's really serious, but still is being the comic relief. Because he was the comic relief in this. Even though he doesn't laugh a single time, or he doesn't... It's not played for laughs, but it's just the way that it comes across. You just gotta go and see this. Like, trust me. If you want to see a good action movie, just wait till Ant-Man comes out. It's great action comedy. That is Ant-Man. Hotel Artemis is more mature and does take its time. It's almost like a theater play. It's like we're introducing the situation we're in. We're introducing every single character on stage and the relationships they have with each other. And then we basically throw a bomb in there and everything just fucking explodes and we'll see how everyone deals with it. That's Hotel Artemis. And the payoff is great, like great action sequence near the end, but it's not about the action. It's all about the characters and who they are and what they want. And once they get it, how they deal with the repercussions of what they've just done. And I wouldn't want to call it a character piece because I think that might be going a bit too far, but I found it very engaging and captivating, and I'm gonna go and see it again. It's like, it's not like there's a lot of layers happening or there's so much in the details that you go and have to see it again because you might have missed something the first time around. I don't think that that's actually the case. The film is really sometimes very obvious with, by the way, in case you didn't catch that piece of dialogue, here's a visual glimpse that is absolutely not needed, but sometimes filmmakers go like, oh, audiences can be a bit thick sometimes and not paying attention, which I thought wasn't necessarily necessary, but I understand why they've done it. And I really enjoyed it, and it's just, yeah, if you like one or two of the characters, and I like 4 of the characters at least, you just have to go and see it again. It's because it's so engaging and captivating. If you like Jodie Foster, you have to go and see it. It's a brilliant performance that she gives there. And I don't want to give anything away, that all the shit that the nurse has to deal with, not just because of the people around her, but also because of her own character, her own personality, and her own history of things. Everything leads up to something, and it's obviously quite predictable and obvious what's gonna happen, but the way how is way more interesting than just to know what happens. It's like, how does it happen? I know what's gonna happen, but how does it happen? And that's exactly what makes Hotel Artemis work. It's kind of like when you play Cluedo or something. It's like, well, who killed that dude, and in what room was it? And when was it? And what murder instrument were they trying to use? That kind of a thing. And I really enjoyed it. I really love it. I'm going to go and see it again on Monday, I think. Hotel Artemis is just as cool as I thought, as I was hoping it to be. Just not as actiony as I thought it would be, but that is not detrimental at all because I love the characters and everyone gets equal screen time pretty much. While the nurse clearly is the pivotal character, the main character, like I said, I think it's more of an ensemble piece. Everyone gets a lot to do. And when I say everyone, I mean Jodie Foster, Sterling K. Brown, Sofia Boutella, and Dave Bautista. You probably know that Jeff Goldblum is in this. It's more of a cameo, really. He's in this for like 5 or 10 minutes. It's not that important, sort of. Zachary Quinto is in this as well, which is nice. Sofia Boutella and him were obviously in Star Trek together. Check out Hotel Artemis. I don't think you're going to regret it. Just trust me on that. It's a really, really cool film. It's very stylish. It looks cool. It sounds cool. Great performances. It's quite interesting. It's a bit weird and bizarre, but in a good way. You know, it's a bit... It's high-tech, but it's old school. You know, it's new, but also retro. And if you like that dichotomy, I think you're going to like Hotel Artemis. So check that out. Make sure when Ant-Man comes out, first week of August, check that out as well. If you haven't seen the first Ant-Man, check it on Netflix. I think it's on Netflix, so do check that out. Come back next week when I will be talking about Mamma Mia. Mamma Mia, here we go again. Like, I didn't like the first one as much, but I love the music. The second one is apparently getting really good reviews. I love the music. Cher's in it. Gotta watch it, right? I'm watching it because, you know, great music in it. Who doesn't like ABBA? That's why I'm gonna watch it. And then the killer next week is gonna be Mission Impossible Fallout. I am so fucking excited for this film. I've tried not to watch any trailers or featurettes or anything. I know Tom Cruise broke his fucking foot, and that he did some crazy helicopter stunt and then he jumped out of an airplane at like ridiculous height. That's all I know about it. And that's all I want to know about it. I want to see this fresh-faced. I'm so excited for Mission Impossible Fallout to come back next Thursday. We're back on Thursdays. That I'm live Friday. Just a fluke. Scheduling conflict with the acting thing. This I Love Cinema always airs Thursdays at 8 p.m. UK time. Find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/ILoveCinemaVlog. Find me on Twitter, ILoveCinemaVlog. All the information's on there, so the Twitter is probably your best bet. You can find all the previous shows of I Love Cinema on YouTube at #ILoveCinema. There you go, #ILoveCinema. Just go and find that, search for that. That should hopefully come up. So yeah, I'm back on YouTube. I'm just not streaming on YouTube. So go and find that. Find me on Twitter. Let's talk movies, guys, all right? I hope you guys have a great weekend. Check out Hotel Artemis. You're not going to regret it. Seriously, if you watch Hotel Artemis and you didn't like it, can you please just message me and tell me why? Become a fan of Sofia Boutella because she's fucking fantastic and she's going to have a hell of a career. Someone hand this woman an action franchise. Seriously, she is just phenomenal. Huge fan. Love seeing her. I want her to do even more. Maybe let her do a romantic comedy as well because she's a good actress, you know, and she's charming and captivating and engaging. She's not just a kick-ass person, but yeah, someone hand her an action franchise because she's awesome. Her and Charlize together, oh my god, they could take on the world, seriously. I'll see you next Thursday, 8 p.m. for Mission Impossible, Mamma Mia, and probably some other things. So have a great weekend. See you at the cinema, all right?